welcome to the 16th annual Randy Dorton Hendrick Engine Builder Showdown. I'm Kim Kuhn alongside my co-host Ralph Shaheen. Ralph, back for a second day, lots of excitement we're going to see here.
Yeah, it really was an exciting day yesterday. You know, when you come down to one engine build different to the other by just 2 seconds. I mean, that's really incredible when you think about the fact that it takes, what, 20, almost 30 minutes to build the engine, and then 2 seconds makes the difference. That's how tight the competition is.
It does. We had 4 builds yesterday. We'll have 2 builds today before the championship build. Now, for those of you that have never joined us for the Engine Builder Showdown, the competition gets heightened up, ratcheted up. Let's take a look at the 2016 highlights just to give you an idea of what we can expect today.
Builders, start your build.
Looks like they're both coming out swinging. Both teams are off to a great start.
1 minute into the build, cranks in, caps going on.
Definitely working well together, moving around each other efficiently.
Scott said he could easily knock a minute off his build.
Getting into the 22s, that's only 20 seconds off of the record. Second time they've seen this engine together. Familiar with it, and it's showing how fast it's going together right now. Both teams neck and neck with that last of the 8 pistons going, and this is going to be a tight race.
It's a dead heat right now, Mr. Hendrick.
Boy, they're close.
So we got to pay attention to the accuracy. These judges are going to scrutinize these engines all the way.
But you can easily see why these guys were top 2 finalists. There's the flip.
The push rods are marked and color coded. The order you see them on the tray is the order they need to be inside that engine.
These guys, look, they've got the rockers on. They're ready. They'll be hooking up the lifelines in just a second over on this side as well. Here we go. 10 seconds. Real close. Lights are on. He's hit the switch. Wow, how about that? You gets a huge round of applause. What a great job, great job.
So as you can see, we have a lot to look forward to as we have our final 2 qualifying builds, and then we move on to that championship build.
Yeah, that's going to be later on this afternoon. You'll see it live right here. It's going to be an exciting moment at the end of the day, no doubt about it. And Mr. Hendrick will be here to help us crown a champion.
It's going to be very exciting, and we've got 3 additional kind of co-hosts to help us walk through the day, just give you the nuts and bolts of what's going on during the engine builds. We've got Jimmy Thompson, and he's alongside Scott Wieland and Roger Meesamore.
Well, good morning, Kim, Ralph. Great to be back. Certainly an exciting day yesterday, Roger and Scott. You know, before we get to the excitement of today, we probably have to recap what happened yesterday during the final build 4. The team of Brian Franklin and Ryan Dutrow left last night probably thinking what could have been. Time of 28.06. Only 2 seconds off the chance to be in a transfer spot right now. What do you think was going through their minds as they walked out of here last night?
Yeah, that's pretty heartbreaking, you know, and that build was clean. There were no penalties. So other than the 2 seconds, they were on a roll there. So certainly I'm sure that they were heartbroken over that. But anyway, we want to cover Ben and Eric's build as well. They ended up with 1 penalty. It was an intake bolt that was left loose, and so that's a 30-second penalty that put them at 31.58. So, you know, a couple of steady builds there, a couple of strong builds, but they just didn't quite make it in the qualifying. So we did talk to a couple of the builders, and it sounds like that in their opinion, the new roller lifters this year really has not slowed the times down. So that was an interesting piece. What we did see yesterday slow times down or create penalties. We had a flywheel that was put on in reverse, which is very easily done. It's not marked in any way. It's just shaped a little bit differently. And the other thing that we saw quite often was actually fasteners that were not tightened to spec by the rule book. So that's very, very critical to make sure that you have a clean build by making sure that you have all the fasteners torqued to spec.
You know, one of the challenges we've been seeing, Scott, Roger just touched on it, the new rollers, they aren't causing as much of an issue, but still the timing seems to be a very challenging aspect of these engines. Why is it so difficult with these EFI engines to get the timing so right?
Well, I think it's a challenge to be accurate and focused on everything. The timing, what the sequence they do it. And you see a lot of different strategies, which I found interesting.
Some of the competitors were saying as they're trying to time the engine, they have to do it before they do the flip. A lot of times they can have some issues where before there was enough friction where the timing would stay in place once they had it tuned, and now just moving the engine, it can cause it to go out of timing very easily. And they only have a small window that they can visibly see to line up the correct markers for this EFI timing. Why is that such a challenge, and how do they make sure that they don't make that mistake before they make the flip?
I know some of the guys are looking inside where they could see it and kind of line it up. A couple of them weren't so fortunate and had to play with it, and it cost them a lot of time.
We have some heavy hitters going today.
Absolutely.
Last year's champions will be going up against last year's runner-up. Scott Vester, Danny Hendrick, two competitors who are fierce competitors, if you could say that in the definition here. Mm-hmm. That's the second build today. Do you think those two can easily take down Mike Maywald and his teammates' time?
Well, I wouldn't say easily, Jimmy, but you did hear a couple of build teams yesterday say that they thought it would take a time of 25 and change, if you will, to make it into the championship. So we could see some faster times today for sure.
And let's not forget, we have a couple of young guns from Hendrick Motorsports going today. Sam Vernatter, Chris Maroc. Sam Vernatter was the 2015 Molly Engine Builder of the Year, so they're certainly contenders as well. What does that mean to be named the Molly Engine Builder of the Year in this industry, Scott?
Oh, it's a pretty prestigious title, and it's given them a lot of confidence talking with these guys this morning.
Well, Kim, Ralph, it sounds like we had a great day yesterday. We know that. We're going to have a great day today. We have some heavy hitters coming up, and stick around. It's going to be exciting.
Jimmy, Roger, Scott, thank you. We'll see you guys on the floor. Now, Ralph, this wouldn't be possible without our competitors, without the builders. And a lot of these guys have done this before. Like Jimmy said, some of these guys, it's their first time for the build. And a lot of them didn't know their teammates before they hit the build floor.
That's right. It's a lottery as to how you get matched up. And they meet. They have basically 24 hours or less to try to figure out how they're going to get along, come up with a strategy, and then go from there. And as we saw yesterday, sometimes just a minute or two into this process, that strategy goes right out the window.
And again, we've got 12 guys from the Hendrick Automotive Group, 12 guys from the Hendrick Motorsports side. Each one is paired up with another. And again, they did that kind of drawing. Mr. H drew the names on Monday night. So not a lot of time to get communicating and getting to know your partner. But with that, let's introduce our builders for this year's Showdown. So yesterday, we had team number one, part of build number one. They're currently holding down the second spot. Shane Parsnow from Hendrick Motorsports alongside his teammate Jeff Hines from Hendrick Chevrolet of Cary, North Carolina. And of course, they were part of build number one, which paired them up against team number two, Jared Morris of Hendrick Motorsports and John Walk of Hendrick Chevrolet of Cary, North Carolina.
Build number two saw Jerry Wendell from Hendrick Motorsports partnered up with Alan Gates from Darrell Waltrip Volvo over in Franklin, Tennessee. Again, our Hendrick Motorsports men are the ones in the red shirts, the gentlemen from the Hendrick Automotive Group in the blue. Our fourth group, which was also part of build number two, is Tom Karras from Hendrick Motorsports and Scott Hubbard from Lexus of Pleasanton in Pleasanton, California.
Also part of yesterday's show was build number three, which included team number five. They currently hold the top time. We'll have to see if that holds as we go into our two qualifying rounds today. That team is made up of Mike Maywald of Hendrick Motorsports and Phil Seaton of Hendrick Toyota of Merriam, Kansas. Team number five was alongside team number six, made up of Jason Engel from Hendrick Motorsports and Bill Sullivan of Hendrick Toyota, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Our final group yesterday involved Brian Franklin from Hendrick Motorsports and Ryan Dutro from Hendrick Lexus of Kansas City in Marion, Kansas. Their competitors on the other side were Ben Proctor from Hendrick Motorsports and Eric Jeffers of Hendrick Lexus, Charleston, South Carolina.
And we're going to kick off today with 2 more qualifying builds. The first of those, build number 5. Team number 9 is going to be Sam Vernatter of Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gagich of Hendrick Lexus of Charlotte. Also part of build number 5, the first one you'll see today, team number 10, Chris Maroc from Hendrick Motorsports and David Teifer of Rick Hendrick Buick GMC out of Duluth, Georgia.
Our final pair in the qualifying session today will be Scott Vester from Hendrick Motorsports, partnered up with Chris Roberds from Honda Cars of McKinney, Texas. On the other engine with that group will be Danny Emmerich of Hendrick Motorsports and Kelly Brandt of Rick Hendrick Chevrolet in Charleston, South Carolina.
Very exciting to see all those builders. Again, we're looking forward to 2 more qualifying builds today. And we see 2 teams up against each other, but remember, they're against the clock. There's a lot of rules to follow. We've got some of our Molly judges that walk the build floor. But again, we want to make sure you're in the know and know everything you need to as you watch these builds today. So here's a rules package presented by Molly.
Judging the competition from Molly Aftermarket is Jim Bliss and Dave Jeffries.
Well, what we're looking for is to make sure all your connecting rods, your main bearings, the cylinder heads, and the valve train are torqued. If they're not torqued, they're penalized 2 minutes per fastener. And then any other fastener that has to be tight, finger tight, what we call it, and if there's any infraction there, it's a 30-second penalty.
This is a very intense contest, and the fact that there are 243 fasteners that need to be taken care of, it's a long, grueling 30 minutes.
You know, this whole event is in honor of Randy Dorton. Randy Dorton was one of the most legendary engine builders in all of NASCAR history. He began his career in NASCAR in 1970 working with the great Harry Hyde. You can only imagine the things he learned from Harry. And after that, ended up coming to work with Mr. Hendrick here and basically building what is now Hendrick Racing Engines just to our right up the hill here. And he laid out that footprint, set up the design, and that business now runs exactly the way Randy wanted it to be. Randy tragically lost his life, but before that, won multiple championships for Hendrick Motorsports. Randy Dorton truly was the king of horsepower for Hendrick Motorsports.
It's great that we get to do this in honor of Randy Dorton. I think that's what this is all about.
You know, Randy Dorton was an engineering genius. Everybody remembers what a contribution he made to this company and to the automotive group.
You know, he's always been considered the best.
Randy's motors have made drivers out of a lot of people.
The engine shop you see today that has almost 400 wins was Randy Dorton's dream. Keeping that dream alive means a lot to these guys, means a lot to me.
Randy was a great friend and kind of like a father figure. A lot of the stuff that he taught me, I'm still realizing today.
You felt like he was really mentoring you.
You know, his culture still lives on here.
You know, this is the 15th year. It's very important to us that have been here and carry on his legacy and try to feel, you know, that there's part of Randy Dorton with us every day when we come to work and when we leave.
He's looking down at us right now and he's got a big smile on his face, I guarantee you.
And now they do have 400 wins, don't they, with power plants that Randy Dorton has laid the fingerprints on.
He was definitely a keystone of this group, and we wouldn't be building engines down here in the Showdown without him.
That's right.
We're going to kick off the day with the Hendrick daily practice of the Maxwell reading. Let's go to the build floor. Wayne Simpson is going to lead us.
Thank you, Kim. Good morning. So as Kim mentioned, Mr. Hendrick is one of the most outstanding examples of a servant leader that any of us have ever seen. Truly lives by that mantra. And several years ago, he engaged with the Maxwell Company to help all of the leaders in the Hendrick Automotive Group and at Motorsports throughout the company to become better servant leaders. So we like to start every morning and every event, anything that we do at Hendrick, with a reading from the Maxwell Daily Reader. So today, the reading is Being Willing to Change. One of the greatest generals in military history was Napoleon Bonaparte. Made a full general at age 26. He utilized shrewd strategy, bold cunning, lightning speed to his advantage to win many victories. The Duke of Wellington, one of the general's most formidable enemies, said, "I consider Napoleon's presence in the field to be equal to 40,000 men in the balance." "I will tell you the mistake you are always making," Napoleon said, addressing an opponent he had defeated. "You draw up your plans the day before battle, when you do not yet know your adversary's movements." Napoleon recognized in his losing opponent a weakness that he himself did not have: lack of adaptability. If you are willing to change and adapt for the sake of your team, you will always have a chance to win. Are you willing to improvise and adapt as conditions change in order to succeed? And what an appropriate reading for today. So you'll see when these guys are building these engines, they will change, they'll adapt. Maybe something will happen, they'll have to take a different course. And certainly in the automotive world and in the racing world, the ability to adapt, be flexible, and change is very, very important. So we need to remember that as leaders. So this morning, we also have a member of our recognition team that is responsible for putting this event together and coordinating everything at Hendrick Automotive Group, Morgan Burrow. Morgan, would you stand up? So Morgan, so this is a rich Hendrick tradition. It's Morgan's birthday today. So Mr. Hendrick was here, he would want us to sing happy birthday, which we may do in a bit. But right now, just like everybody on the count of 3, to say happy birthday, Morgan, as loud as you can. Everybody ready? All right. Morgan, you embarrassed? Oh, that's good. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Morgan. Happy birthday. Have a great day.